Hey everybody, welcome to Q&A video number 25. Make sure you keep asking questions, doesn't matter about, they can be about anything. But, just know that I don't respond to review requests or LP requests in these videos. Or, what do you think about insert game here, as long as... If you ask me about a specific feature, then that's fine, but don't ask me, what do you think about insert game here? Because I don't respond to those in Q&As, I respond to those in MTOs or reviews and all that. And I'll respond to them in the comments. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with a question from WatchOutBR. What's the best role-playing game to start with? And he's talking mostly about late 90s, early 2000s, and I quote, not today's shitty ones, unquote. Today's role-playing games generally aren't role-playing games, ironically enough. So, in that case, you actually are kind of correct on that. There are quite a few, though, that are legitimate role-playing games, and you really should play them. Spiderweb Software puts out a lot of really good role-playing games, if you're willing to put up with learning the mechanics and all that. And the very indie graphics. I mean, they're not impressive visually at all, but they have a lot of soul to them, and they're a blast to play. So make sure you check out those. That's stuff like Avernum, Geneforge, and the new one is Avedon: The Black Fortress. And their older ones were Exile, but those are kind of hard to get into. But yeah, the Spiderweb Software games are really good to get into, even though they're made today. They're done in the very old style, and they work very well. As for modern games that still are fun, Dragon Age Origins is a very solid role-playing game in the older style, with some modern additions, of course, but it's just really long because of all that filler in it. But anyway. Those are the only... I'm not going to talk much about the modern ones. As for the older ones, probably the easiest ones to get into are Neverwinter Nights 1 and Baldur's Gate. Because Baldur's Gate does a pretty good job of explaining things, and it's not really too ungodly difficult. Icewind Dale 1, on the other hand, is extremely difficult if you don't know what you're doing. So, that's pretty rough. So don't play Icewind Dale 1. Don't play Planescape Torment unless you're really willing to wrap your mind around the planes, because they're hard to understand. The game mechanics are actually pretty easy to figure out. It's just that the planes themselves are just really weird, and you have to really spend a lot of time trying to figure those out if you want to get the optimal experience and all that. But other than that, let me think of some. I can tell you not to play, do not play Temple of Elemental Evil, because you will hate it, and it will make you hate all role-playing games ever since that, and it's kind of sad, really. Arcanum's actually a good one. That was the one that really got me into role-playing games. Arcanum of Steamworks and Magic Obscura, and it's actually a little difficult to get into, but once you figure it out, it's actually fairly simple in terms of mechanics. It's just once you figure it out, it's a blast to play, and it actually gets better the more you play it and the more you understand things. So, yeah, that's a good one. There aren't really a lot of good starter role-playing games available, just because the genre is kind of exclusive, and it takes some patience to wrap your mind around those mechanics and all that. Anyway, next two questions are from Calibokina. First one is, I noticed you speak German quite well, pronunciation-wise anyway. I can't really tell on the vocabulary part. How well can you speak the language? Also, what other languages do you speak, if any, and how well? Well, as far as German goes, I'm reasonably fluent in it. I just need to strengthen my vocabulary at this point. I've got mechanics down. There's nothing there that really eludes me, per se. It's just the idiomatic usage I'm not particularly familiar with, and the... I just need to work on, like, reading and stuff. I can't read stuff aloud very well at all, even in English. But, yeah, I'm reasonably fluent in German. I am starting to learn Welsh, and it is extremely difficult because it's like no other language I've ever tried to learn. I can speak a little bit of Russian, a little bit of French, just not very much, obviously. I'm currently learning Japanese, which is quite difficult because of all the kanji. But other than that, it's actually pretty easy. What else? I used to be able to speak a little Spanish, but I can't speak it anymore. I can still understand it to some degree, but I can't speak it. I can't just respond in Spanish anymore. Other than that, now I can understand a little Italian too. So I'm kind of all over the place. I can generally understand Swedish as well. If I just look at it, if I hear it spoken, it's not necessarily the same thing. But if I look at it, generally I can understand what something in Swedish is, just because I speak German. But yeah, that's kind of how that goes. And the second one is, any quick thoughts on Munchkin, if you know what that is. It's a board game. I played it once, and I can't really remember much about it other than it was quite silly and quite fun to play. Just look into it, and it is quite amusing. That's all I remember about it. Next one is from Sniper Elite 1989. What programming languages do you know, and how did you learn them? Currently, I know Java and C#. And I'm not 100% fluent in either of them yet. I'm still learning them. I'm still in the middle of classes trying to figure stuff out with that. Mostly surrounding like .NET right now. Trying to figure that stuff out. I can generally read a little bit of C and C++ though. But apart from that, not really a lot. I picked up Ruby a while back and I never really got into it, so I never really learned that. And XML, I can generally read too. But I couldn't tell you much about it other than that. Anyway, next one is from UnjollyIrishman. DW, what is your opinion on Stanley Kubrick's films? I want to see a lot of them when I'm older. Dr. Strangelove, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and A Clockwork Orange in particular. I've heard that most of his films are masterpieces and want to know other people's opinions on them. Also, what are your favorite movies? Some of your favorite movies, I mean. That's a twofold question. In regards to Stanley Kubrick, the only ones I've actually seen all the way through are The Shining and Full Metal Jacket, both of which were excellent. Highly recommend both of them. Full Metal Jacket, if you are squeamish in terms of hearing cursing and all that, then I would advise not watching it. But it's actually a pretty good movie. It's got a kind of a really dark sense of humor about it. But anyway, The Shining is also quite good, even though I don't really like horror, and that's not really a horror, it's more of a thriller. But anyway. Have not seen actually all the way through of 2001: A Space Odyssey yet. I want to see the full thing, but I've just never gotten the chance to see the whole thing all the way through. Never got the chance to see Dr. Strangelove or Clockwork Orange yet. I really want to see Clockwork Orange, though. I hear nothing but good things about that, and I want to see it. But other than that, Kubrick himself, his movies generally are very weird, though. That's the thing. If you go to watch these movies, you really have to acknowledge the fact that he likes to be very artistic with things. And so, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around some of the things he does and some of the ways he does things. But if you get it, then you get it, and it's great. But even if you don't get it, it's still great most of the time. And then again, I know people who just watch these movies and they're like, what? I don't get it. Why is this good? So, it's all over the place. As for what some of my favorite movies are, Star Wars, of course not the new ones, the original trilogy and the original theatrical releases, of course. Indiana Jones, oh, I love Indiana Jones. Lord of the Rings films were good, very good actually. And not, of course, the cartoon ones, those were But anyway. The Harry Potter films actually did a good job too. But, I'm actually kind of a fan of the old westerns. I grew up on those, so I just kind of got used to watching them, and I still enjoy them. Particularly spaghetti westerns, stuff like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, or even Once Upon a Time in the West is considered a spaghetti western in my book. So that kind of stuff. The Matrix was really good, not the sequels, but the first one anyway. So I'm kind of all over the place with those. You kind of have to ask me on a movie-by-movie basis, because I just watch a lot of really random movies all over the place. Oh, the Dirty Harry ones were really good, too. Pretty much if it stars Clint Eastwood, I like it, apparently. But anyway, that's all I got for Q&A 25, so make sure you keep asking questions, and I will catch you guys in later videos.